From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Hannah Mordo, and this is your News 8 Daily for Tuesday, October 21st. We're starting out chilly, but not nearly as cold as yesterday morning. In the upper 40s here in Indianapolis, we will get to the low 60s today. Really, the thing that you're going to feel is we're going to have a lot of winds, gusts up to 30 to 35 miles per hour. Breaking news. A man is dead and a woman is wounded after gunfire on the near southeast side of Indianapolis. News 8's Colin Bailey brings us the latest from police at the scene near Raymond and I-65.
The first scene, obviously, is here. Most of the activity is happening here behind the house in the 1600 block of Tabor. The other scene was just off of 65 in Raymond Street, just a handful of blocks away from here. And I'll step out of the way so you can see what this scene looks like right now. And I mentioned that there's two different scenes, but we just heard from IMPD officer Tommy Thompson. He says when officers arrived on the scene, they found a woman with a gunshot wound. He says that woman then told police that a man had been shot in an alley behind a house. Police say that man was pronounced dead at the scene. Thompson described this neighborhood as a tight-knit community, and he's urging anyone who may have seen something to help investigators.
There's surveillance footage. Anyone in this area saw something, heard something. I know traffic is very light at this time, at that 5:45, 5:30 time frame. If you've got surveillance footage, check your alleyway cameras, check anything. You can call and get a hold of the IMPD and remain anonymous, 100% anonymous, and call Crime Stoppers of Central Indiana at that 317-262-TIPS.
Officer Thompson says they don't know what led to this gunfire. He did say the woman was wounded, was stable at a local hospital. And if we get any more updates, we'll bring them to you on air or online if we get any updates here. For now, here on the southeast side of Indy, I'm Colin Bailey for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
Happening today, Vice President JD Vance is now in Israel to join a U.S. delegation working to preserve the fragile ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The two sides traded strikes in Gaza Sunday and Monday. The New York Times is reporting there's also concern within the Trump administration that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu could scuttle the peace deal and resume an all-out assault on Gaza. Israel is still waiting for Hamas to release the remains of 15 deceased Israeli hostages who were captured during the 2023 attack that prompted the war. A professor of international studies at Butler University, Fayet Moudini, weighed in on what this trip could mean this morning on Daybreak.
Yes, it is a very contentious time and a very fragile time indeed with regards to the ceasefire. As you correctly mentioned, both sides have accused each other of breaking the ceasefire, carrying out violations pertaining to the ceasefire. So whether it's Vice President JD Vance or other intermediaries in the Middle East, what the attempt now is to try to ensure that both sides follow President Trump's 20-point peace plan, ensuring that violence halts, and then they can begin additional phases of the plan as outlined.
Also new this morning, the federal government shutdown is now in its 21st day, tying it for the second longest shutdown in history. Today, Senate Republicans are headed to the White House for a show of unity with the president. They say they will not negotiate with Democrats about extending health insurance tax credits with the Affordable Care Act until the government is open. The longest shutdown was 35 days during President Trump's first administration. At the time, the two sides fought over funding for Trump's border wall. With this shutdown, more than 600,000 people in Indiana could lose out on money for food. Leaders of two groups that fight hunger say the cuts could be devastating. News 8's Kat Sandoval reports.
In my hand is a letter from the U.S. Department of Agriculture to SNAP agencies around the country. It says should this current lapse continue, there will be insufficient funds to pay full November SNAP benefits. More than 600,000 Hoosiers, or 9% of the state population, risk losing their food stamps next month. Gleaners Food Bank calls it devastating.
Real Hoosiers are going to be in real pain because of this really unnecessary shutdown of government services that we're suffering through right now.
I reached out to the Family Social Services Administration, who says SNAP benefits will be legally funded until November 5th. They are currently waiting on the USDA for additional guidance. That's because SNAP is federally funded, but it's up to the states to administer the benefits.
It's essentially telling state administrators what to prepare for. And at the moment, it's hang on a minute, they're assessing what's going to happen.
Feeding Indiana's Hungry says they have food banks available should anyone need it. Gleaner's Food Banks has seen firsthand how the government shutdown impacts vulnerable Indiana families. Their CEO says since the shutdown, 250 Indianapolis TSA agents have requested food aid.
These are people who are generally well paid, who've probably never even thought about being in the pantry line. And because of this government shutdown, they're being forced to seek charitable food to put food on the table for their families.
Food banks worry that the cut to SNAP benefits, cuts to federal workers' income, and already rising costs at the grocery stores will just increase more families in need.
It's the ultimate irony to me that we have all of these federal workers in Indiana who are working and not getting paid, and we have congressmen who are getting paid and not working. The United States House of Representatives have shut down because the Speaker of the House won't call them back to work. They are not working and getting paid.
The food banks are already gearing up for an influx of people. They also mentioned they are always looking for donations. I'm Kat Sandoval for Wish TV, wishtv.com.
New on Daybreak, the IU Media School is launching a task force focused on editorial independence and financial stability of student journalism. The fate of the student-run newspaper is a flashpoint for controversy right now. News 8's Hernan Gutierrez has the story and who will be on the task force.
So the media school says that faculty, staff, and students and alumni will have representatives on this task force. According to yesterday's announcement, the goal is for the committee to come up with recommendations on how to ensure media is independent and financially stable at the school. The announcement also indicated that the group will continue the work of a similar committee formed by the university in 2024. Last week, IU fired Jim Rodenbush, the faculty advisor to the Indiana Daily Student. It came after he refused a directive from university officials to block news stories from running in a special homecoming print edition of the newspaper. After editors at the Daily Student criticized the school for Rodenbush's firing, IU announced they would no longer print the paper at all. That prompted a widespread outcry from students, alumni, and journalists. In a statement about the task force, the dean for the media school says it is committed to the independence and financial stability of student media, adding in part, this task force represents an opportunity to take that commitment even further by strengthening the foundations that support it. According to the announcement, the task force will be appointed in the coming weeks. The Daily Student is reporting that the committee will then have recommendations for the school by next year. I'm Hernan Gutierrez for Wish TV and wishtv.com.
Turning Point USA and Tucker Carlson will be on IU's campus tonight. Governor Mike Braun says he will be at the event. It's at the IU Auditorium at 6:30 in the evening. Right-wing activist and founder of Turning Point, Charlie Kirk, was supposed to be the speaker. He, of course, was assassinated last month as he spoke at Utah Valley University. Carlson is speaking as his replacement. A woman in Indianapolis is facing charges of murder and criminal recklessness for a deadly road rage shooting. News 8's Malia Van Ostrin talked to the prosecutor and a man who saw the aftermath firsthand.
Prosecutor Muir says that a driver became so mad after being honked at a green light that they followed another driver before opening fire. Now they are possibly facing decades in jail.
This is 23-year-old Deborah Benefiel, who was behind the wheel when prosecutors alleged that she followed the driver who honked at her, yelled, and made gestures at him before pulling out a gun and shooting into his car, hitting him in the chest. The victim, 21-year-old Kentrell Settles, later died at the hospital.
To me, this case just illustrates the challenge that we face. The person that we've charged with murder, this is her very first arrest. Her very first charge is going to be for murder.
The incident happened around 2 p.m. on October 17th at the area of West 38th Street and Georgetown Road. The victim was driving a gold Chevy Malibu. A witness described what he saw.
The driver was driving very erratically, and but there was somebody else with a driver, like a lady. She was yelling, she was screaming, she was on the phone with the police, I guess. And after that, they just parked right there, and the police came right away.
After firing her gun, Benefiel drove her car away, but the passenger in the victim's car was able to provide police with a description. She was arrested the same day. As Officer Drew Brown sees it, surveillance technology played a huge factor in providing evidence for the case.
They use automatic license plate readers, as we mentioned, and just using various investigative techniques, these officers were able to put their skill sets together to identify a suspect and make a safe apprehension of that suspect and hold them accountable.
Benefiel could face between 45 to 65 years for her murder charge. Mears says this case of road rage is a little more unique than others.
That's not typically how these cases progress. Usually you see more of an interaction. Usually you see multiple steps that kind of lead up or escalate to the point where gun violence is being used. That's not the allegation here at all.
And continue doing our part to drive down violence in the community, to hold those that are inflicting this sort of damage on families accountable. But we can't do this alone. We as a community have to look inward and do better.
Mears hopes this case serves as a reminder to think before you act and to remember there are much better ways to handle conflict than possibly taking a life. In studio, I'm Aaliyah Van Ostrand for Wish TV and WishTV.com.
New on Daybreak, prosecutors in Cass County have filed new charges against former Indianapolis Colt Daniel Muir. Police arrested Muir and his wife Kristen Muir last year after their son went missing and was later found at the Muir's home in Logansport. Online court records show Daniel Muir is now charged with level 5 felony obstruction of justice, upgraded from a level 6 felony. Prosecutors also added a felony charge of battery resulting in serious bodily injury. Muir already faced a count of misdemeanor domestic battery. Both of the Muirs are set for trial in January. Prosecutors in Indianapolis have not formally filed charges against rookie Pacers guard Cameron Jones after his arrest on accusations of reckless driving and resisting law enforcement. Online records show Jones was booked into the Marion County Jail yesterday, then later released. State police say yesterday morning Jones was speeding on I-65, weaving in and out of traffic and passed a trooper. Authorities say the trooper tried to stop Jones, but that he kept going for several miles. Jail records show Jones is due in court on Thursday morning. Aaron Nesmith will be wearing blue and gold for a while. The Pacers and the forward have agreed to a 2-year, $40 million contract extension that keeps him in Indianapolis through the 2028-29 season. That's according to ESPN. That's the maximum allowed salary through an extension. Nesmith averaged 12 points and 4 rebounds per game last season, but those numbers got even better in the postseason. He averaged nearly 13 points and 6 rebounds per game in the playoffs. Pacers start the regular season Thursday at home. It's a rematch against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Tip-off is at 7:30. IndyCar stars are set to turn laps at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway today and tomorrow. Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, Alexander Rossi, and Takuma Sato take to the track starting at 9. The Speedway says Palou and O'Ward are testing tires and recently repaved parts in Turn 2. Rossi and Sato are focused on brakes and shocks that could be used in the future cars for the series. If you want to go, the viewing mounds in 2 are open. Switching gears and back to the violence in Indianapolis as we add more elements to our effort here at Wish TV to reduce youth violence, our Yat Back campaign. The man who came up with the idea is sharing his aims. News 8's Phil Sanchez spoke with the head of Wish TV's parent company, Circle City Broadcasting, about how the idea came together and the partnership to keep young people safe.
Your life is worth more.
They see nothing but hopelessness all day, every day.
Shooting calls ring out from a police dispatcher. When they're finally caught, the arrests are just the beginning. Suspects of all ages, both old and young, different crimes, different circumstances. But they might all end up in the same place. So how can things change? YATBAC. It stands for Youth Alternatives to Violence and Crime. The campaign, founded by Dewan McCoy, owner, president, and CEO of Circle City Broadcasting, parent company of Wish TV. Dewan came up with the idea after nearly 24 people were shot over the 4th of July weekend.
I believe the first step in creating a solution is to build awareness about it.
Circle City Broadcasting is investing $2 million aimed at reducing youth crime and violence here in Indianapolis and surrounding areas.
We've officially launched YATBAC on August 4th. And we started with the curfew reminders.
It's past curfew.
It's an ongoing thing, but the reception from the community is pretty darn good.
The curfew reminders, which air at 10 p.m. and 12 a.m., resonate with Reverend Charles Harrison of Barnes United Methodist Church. Harrison is part of the YATVAC advisory group, along with Maggie Lewis from Boys and Girls Club and Dr. Virginia Kane, as well as many others. Harrison also leads the Indianapolis 10-Point Coalition.
It's a reminder to them to make sure that they're doing their part as parents, you know, and I think that's good because we have to get, you know, parents more involved in this.
Also, as a part of the initiative, a website dedicated to helping teens and their caretakers find resources, things like food, housing, mental health support, and other positive opportunities.
I don't try to be a cure-all, okay? But having a megaphone like I have, I want to be able to use it to help the people that want to be helped.
Another part, community leaders participating with public service announcements. We'll hear from people like IMPD Chief Chris Bailey.
Please walk away instead of doing something that will change your life forever.
And Indianapolis native and well-known promoter and community activist, Ann Paris.
I am the poster child to what you would say he is the one that is not going to make it.
As part of the Add That campaign, Wish TV is hosting meetings with community leaders like Bob Osley, president of the Indianapolis City County Council, who says the financial investment alone has been a huge help.
That $2 million now is used, obviously, for the reduction of violence in our community.
The meetings are designed to come up with real solutions and have open dialogue.
When families thrive, children thrive. When parents thrive, children thrive. And so how do we take it to the next level?
And at the end of the day, that's the goal, to help reduce violence. It's something that DeJuan, Indianapolis-born, Indianapolis-raised, is extremely passionate about.
I grew up in town, so for me to have a megaphone as large as Wish TV's megaphone, whether it be over the air or whether it be online or whether it be on our statewide network, it's a pretty large megaphone. I can impact things that need to be impacted in the community.
That was Phil Sanchez reporting. This has been your News 8 Daily from Wish TV. I'm Hannah Mordeau. Watch us on Wish TV and wishtv.com.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast, a Wish TV News 8 update on demand. For even more, on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening. And be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.